Hello, welcome to the live video. How's everyone doing? My name's Jessica. I'm one of the singer ambassadors and I'm so excited for today's live. We're gonna do a little sew along. Hello, people are joining. How are you guys doing? We're doing a little sew along. I'm so excited. Okay, so here's what we're gonna be making today. So this is an almost exact replica. I made this one yesterday. It's just this heavy duty work apron, utility apron, grilling apron, whatever you want to call it. It has many different uses and that's what's super cool about it. You can customize it to whatever you're going to be using it for. So it has all these little pockets. It has this little chest pocket. It has this kangaroo pocket here that goes all the way down. And then it has these little pockets over the kangaroo pocket. And then it has these cool little loops on the side. So you can hang tools off of them or whatever you're going to be using it for. You can hang a tape measure or a hammer or whatever. You can hang some tools off of it. And then it has this canvas webbing for the waist strap and the neck strap. So that's basically what we're going to be making today, but we're making today's version out of a completely different fabric that I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is super fun because you can kind of work with different textures and fabrics. So up here I used this like pleather apron, and then I used pleather fabric, and then I used this canvas fabric for the kangaroo pocket, and then I used more pleather for the bottom pocket. So it's really cool. You can kind of mix and match different colors and textures, and then we have the canvas here. So today, switching gears a little, we're gonna make today's apron out of this waxed canvas. So this is a really, really cool fabric. It has this like scrunched look. So every time you make a crease in it, it like leaves behind those little creases. So be aware of that as you're sewing with it. But yeah, so we're going to be using this. It's pretty heavy duty. And then on top of that, we're going to be using this waxed cotton for the pockets. I thought that would be a cool contrast color for the pockets. So since we're going to be using this heavy duty fabric, it was only necessary to be using this Singer heavy duty sewing machine. So we're going to be using this heavy duty 4432 for today's tutorial. And yeah, so let's just get into it. So before we start, I want to mention you can find all of these written instructions on the Singer website. So go to singer.com, click on inspiration and sewing projects. I think that's the tab. And you can find this tutorial all written out in written format. Okay. And also, I want to mention tomorrow on my personal YouTube channel, I'm posting a video tutorial, step by step, how to cut this pattern, how to draft it at home, because today I'm only going to show you how to sew it. I'm not showing you how to draft the pattern. So if you want to see the whole first half of this project, then subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jessica Shaw, and tomorrow I'm posting the drafting process, the cutting process, and the sewing, but you can also find it all on singer.com. So that was my intro. Welcome everyone. We are making this apron. I'll show you again, this heavy duty apron if you're just now joining. And I also drew out all of the dimensions on this little whiteboard. So if you want to screenshot this, it might be backwards though, it might be reversed on your photo. So you might need to flip the photo. But this is all the dimensions for all the pieces that you're gonna cut. So if you want to screenshot that, screenshot it now. Okay, those are the pieces. Okay, who's ready to just get started? Maria? Maria's ready. If anyone has any questions throughout this entire process, please ask them. I'm going to try my best to answer any question as we go. But there are probably some questions that I'm not going to know the answer to. So we will also be going back later after it's posted and answering questions that I don't answer during the live. So be sure to check back later. Jacqueline? Okay, so I already showed you the top apron piece. So this is what oh, no, wrong side. This is what I've already done. So for prep work before this live, just for time purposes, I cut the main apron piece out, and then I also hemmed it. So I went ahead and did a double fold hem, but if you're working with super thick fabric, like a really thick canvas, you'll probably want to just zigzag stitch it or overcast stitch and then turn it over once. But this wasn't super thick, so I was able to turn it over twice, and I just hemmed it down. So as you can see, it has a really basic shape. It's 10 inches across, 10 inches slanted down. Grandma's watching. Hi, Grandma. And then it's just straight down until the end of the apron. So it's a very basic shape. And of course, I cut it on the fold so it's perfectly symmetrical. And that's just a really easy thing to cut. So take your own personal body measurements, however long you want this apron to be. This one hit about mid-thigh. So yeah, if you want it to be a longer one, just cut it longer, maybe like 50 inches, something like that. Okay, so let's actually get started. So what I've also done for prep work, I cut out all of the pockets that we're going to be using. Again, you can find all of the dimensions on singer.com on the inspiration tab. But I have my kangaroo pocket, and I also went through and I zigzag stitched the edges just so it doesn't fray, because we're going to end up turning these on the inside of the apron, and you don't want the pockets to fray on the inside because then you're going to have little threads coming out of the pockets. So I went ahead and zigzag stitched the edges, but I'm going to show you how I did that on this pocket. So this is going to be the chest pocket. For reference, it's going to be that pocket. Grandma's telling me I'm beautiful. Your compliments don't count because you're my grandma, but thank you, Grandma. Okay, so we are just going to go around and zigzag stitch the edges of this pocket. So let me show you how to do that. So again, we are using this heavy duty sewing machine, which I am in love with this. This is my newest sewing machine. Before I used the Quantum Stylist, which is amazing. But now that I'm getting into sewing with more heavy duty fabrics, this heavy duty sewing machine is absolutely perfect, and it's like seamless. When you're sewing like 4 layers of canvas, it just glides right over. It's crazy. Okay, so can everyone see this? Always in bloom. Loves yours too. It's a great sewing machine. Okay, so I switched mine to a zigzag stitch. My length I'm going to keep at 2.5. My length is almost always 2.5 when I'm sewing. My width is a 3.5. So when I pick my width, I'm basically thinking about my seam allowance. So I want to keep the width within my seam allowance because I don't want the zigzag stitch to be visible on the outside of the apron. So I want to make sure to keep it within the seam allowance. So I'm going to sew mine at 1/2 inch seam allowance, so I'm just going to make sure that it's within that 1/2 inch. Did that make sense? So 3.5 is perfect. And your tension really depends on the fabric that you're working with, but I'm going to talk more about that later if you have any questions about setting the tension. But 3.5 is what I'm using. No, 3 is what I'm using right now. Okay, so we're just going to zigzag all around this little rectangle. Here we go. Okay, so once you get to the end and you need to pivot, the most important thing to do is make sure the needle is in the down position. So turn this little spinny wheel right here. This little spinny wheel, you're going to turn it until the needle is completely down, like inside the fabric. That's going to hold it in place while you lift the presser foot, pivot the fabric, and then we're gonna drop the presser foot again and keep sewing. So that's just gonna really hold it in place and keep everything secure while you're doing corners. Someone's asking if there are sewing classes. There are tons of tutorials on YouTube. So actually, if you go to the Singer website and find that exact sewing machine and you click on it, on the right hand side there are going to be a ton of little tutorials on like how to use the basic functions. So when I first got this sewing machine, that is what I watched, and I think they're also on YouTube. So you can just search that specific sewing machine, and Singer has made a ton of really easy instructional videos, so you can watch those and figure out how to use it. All right. Here, we're doing well. You love the sewing machine sound. I do too. I really do. It is satisfying. Okay, so this is what our little zigzag looks like. It's not perfect, but guys, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're not even going to see this on the outside. So don't panic. It doesn't have to be perfect. But this is really going to help make the fabric not fray once it's turned to the inside of the apron like that. So now it won't fray. What heavy duty? It's the 4432 heavy duty. So in place of a zigzag stitch, you can always use a serger or an overcast stitch, but I just find the zigzag stitch to be super easy. Now I have a serger, so I would use a serger, but I'm just gonna use this machine for everything. But yeah, the zigzag stitch is great. Okay, so we got that done, and I already have, hold on a second here. Okay. Okay, so I already prepped all of my other pockets, so now they're all nice and zigzagged, ready to be pressed. So the next step, we are going to press down the edges that we're going to top stitch. So when you're doing pockets, you first want to top stitch whatever edge your hand is going to go into, basically. So that's usually the top edge. Or on the kangaroo pocket, it's going to be the slanted edges because that's where your hand is going to go. So whatever the edges that you're going to leave open, you want to top stitch first. So that's going to be the top edge of the chest pocket. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but since we're using waxed cotton and waxed canvas, we cannot use our iron on these because the iron is going to melt the wax off. So instead, I'm going to use this little seam roller, which you could honestly just finger press this. It presses down really, really easily. But I'm just going to use this. So I'm just folding down that zigzagged top edge by 1/2 inch. And I'm just gonna roll it down. Just roll it down just to make a good crease so that it sews easily. We don't even really have to pin it because we're creasing it so well. Okay, that looks good. Nice edge. We're going to do the same thing to the top edge of the rectangular piece. This is going to go on top of the kangaroo pocket. So we're just going to press the top edge down. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but this apron would be a perfect Father's Day gift. Father's Day is coming up at the end of the month. So if you have someone in your life who's working out in the shop and doesn't want to get their clothes dirty and, you know, needs a place for all their tools, this would be an amazing little Father's Day gift. So keep that in mind. a really simple, heartfelt Father's Day gift. Okay, now I'm gonna roll the slanted edges of the kangaroo pocket. So that edge and this edge. 1/2 inch, that is our seam allowance. I love the ironing mat that you're using. This is the Singer ironing table and crafting station, and it is so convenient. I love this thing. It has an adjustable height, so I'm sitting in a chair right now, so I can do it while I'm sitting, which I love because I just like to sit, you know? I like to sit. But you can also adjust it to where it's like standing height, which is really convenient. And it has these little measurement grid to make measuring easier. It's just very convenient. And it's also scorch proof, so it won't burn. Because knowing me, I would do something like that to my sewing machine. Yesterday when I was sewing this apron, there's some pleather on it, on this pocket, there's some pleather on it. And I was ironing it yesterday, and I accidentally nicked the edge of the pleather and it burned it. It almost burned a hole in it. Good thing I had quick reflexes and I took the iron off real quick, but it was pretty nerve-wracking. So be aware of the fabric that can melt because it was traumatizing. Okay, so I have all of my edges pressed and now we're ready to top stitch. So let's head back over to the sewing machine. How's everyone doing? Does anyone have any questions? I love to answer questions, so let me know if you have a pressing question to ask. Okay, so first I'm going to top stitch the chest pocket. So, a little note about top stitching. It's called top stitching, but you can either top stitch on the wrong side or the right side. It's really just based on your comfortability. When I first started sewing, I only top stitched on this side just so I could see exactly where my seam was going so I didn't accidentally like run off the folded edge. But now that I'm a little bit better at sewing, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch on the right side. And the benefit to stitching on the right side is that the stitches actually look better on the right side of the fabric because it comes from the top thread. So the bobbin thread looks a little bit not as neat. So if you want the seam to look really, really neat, stitch on the top side of the fabric instead of the bottom side, so that the bobbin side will be down here and then the top thread will be here. So, little tip for you. Is the heavy duty a good machine for a beginner? 1000% yes. I don't know if I should, but I still consider myself a beginner, even though I've been sewing for 5 years. But I listen to podcasts from really experienced sewers, and I'm like, I am not on your level, and I don't know if I ever will be. But I feel so comfortable sewing with this machine. I learned it in like 20 minutes. I learned how to use it. It's so user-friendly. Sorry. Okay. I'm trying to get my pedals situated. Okay, so we are going to switch this off of the zigzag stitch over to a straight stitch, which now that we're top stitching, I'm actually going to switch my length a little bit bigger. So top stitching typically should require a little bit longer of a stitch length because it looks a little bit better, it looks a little neater. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can actually get like a thicker thread for the top stitch. But I'm just going to use my all-purpose thread for the top stitch. But yeah, thicker thread. You can also get a thicker needle to fit that thread. And then sometimes you need to change the tension, but I think I'm good here. Okay. So So when I'm top stitching, I feel like I'm talking so much right now. When I'm top stitching, I line up the edge of the fabric to the edge of the presser foot just so that it's super accurate, because your top stitch is going to be visible from the outside of the apron. So you're going to want it to look super nice. You don't want it to be all squiggly, you know. So if you find a good reference point on the sewing machine, you'll be able to sew a really straight line. And yes, you can use the heavy duty for medium and lightweight fabrics. It sews anything from sheer, really lightweight fabrics to leather. So it's very versatile. Okay, here we go. Okay, also I'm using a contrast color, which is very risky because you have to make sure it looks extra good when you use a contrast color. But I'm pretty happy with that. Someone asked if you can sew stretchy fabrics with the sewing machine. I'm like 99% sure you can. The only reason I'm not very sure is because I never sew with stretchy fabrics. But if you sew a zigzag stitch, you can pretty much sew any kind of knit fabric. Especially if you have a stretch needle or a ballpoint needle, you got it. So that might be a question we're going to need to verify later, but I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Okay, I'm also going to top stitch the other two pockets. We're just going to fly through this. Grandma said it looks great. Grandma's my biggest critic, so, you know, she tells me when it doesn't look great. Does this look great, Grandma? Grandma has no shame. She'll come over and be like, that's not good. That's really bad. And, you know, it hurts for a second, but then I'm like, I need to get better and be like Grandma. Okay, now I'm sewing the slanted edges, doing a little top stitch. So yes, I'm a big fan of the heavy duty sewing machine. I just love the confidence of knowing that I could sew anything, you know? I love the versatility of it. Because I typically only sew garments. I only sew like medium to lightweight clothing items. So I typically don't need anything too crazy. Like a simple sewing machine is really all I need. But I love the versatility of, you know, lightweight to heavyweight fabrics. And something really cool about this sewing machine is there's this little presser foot pressure dial up here. So you can take your little screwdriver and turn it left to make the pressure more loose, or right to make it more tight. So if you're sewing really lightweight or sheer fabrics, you turn it left. But if you're sewing heavyweight fabrics like denim or canvas, you're gonna turn it right. So yeah, it's really, you know, customizable to whatever project you're working on. And it's great. Okay, so we have our pockets top stitched. Now we are ready to place them basically ready to place them on the apron. Okay, so we're just gonna move this on over to our table. Changing the pressure of the presser foot is a great feature. It is. I actually left mine in the factory settings because I figured it was already set for like kind of medium weight, which is what this is. This wax canvas isn't super heavy. But I left it where it was, but if I feel like it needs to be changed, I can change it. Okay, can everyone see this? Can everyone see this apron? So this is the top of the apron. Okay, here we go. So for the chest pocket, we are gonna measure down 4 inches. 4 inches, and we're gonna place this pocket down. Make sure to get this directly in the middle. No pressure, but it has to look perfect. Okay, 4 inches. There, oops. Okay, we're gonna put that down. Okay, now, oh my gosh. Wow, okay. I'm gonna mark that spot first before we place it down. Wow. Okay, I need to press the other edges of this pocket. So I'm gonna press the other 3 edges down by 1/2 inch with my little seam roller. And press them down. Press them down. Is anyone else planning on making this apron? Comment if you are planning on making this. My dad doesn't really work out in the shop, not really these days, you know, but if he did, he would have loved an apron like this. So it'd be such a fun little Father's Day gift. Okay, so I'm just pressing down the other 3 edges. If you have a steam iron and if you're working with anything but like a wax coated fabric, oh, why the roller instead of an iron? Because this is a wax coated cotton. It has wax on it, so the iron would melt the wax off, and I don't know what that would do, but it sounds bad. So I'm just gonna use this little seam roller and roll the edges, and it works super well with this fabric. So now I'm gonna place this down. Okay, we're rocking and rolling now. Someone raised their hand. McCallahan, you're making this, yay. I'm just gonna measure from the outside and see if it's the same on both sides. Make sure it's even, and it's not. Okay, let's see. Wow. 3 inches. Okay. 3.5. 3.5. It's perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure all those little edges that we just pressed are nicely tucked under, and we can pin it down. Let's pin this pocket down. Where are my pins? Where are my pins? Okay. One moment. I found them. Don't panic. They're right here. I'm just gonna pin this little pocket down. Now, you're not really supposed to pin waxed canvas because it makes some holes in the fabric. So I'm kind of breaking the rules just for the sake of this video, but I'm only doing a few, so it's fine. But yeah, waxed canvas is really cool. It's 100% cotton, so it's a nice natural fiber, and it's usually coated in beeswax, or I think it's called paraffin wax, and so it's water resistant and really durable. So we love that if you're working out in the shop. Okay, so we got our chest pocket down. Before we sew this on, I'm just gonna connect these 2 pockets. So let me show you how to connect the kangaroo pocket to this little rectangular pocket. They're basically the same width at the bottom, so they're really easy to line up. Can you see that? Okay, so we have our kangaroo pocket, and I'm gonna lay the other pocket down so the wrong side is facing the right side of the kangaroo pocket. So the right sides are facing up. And I'm just gonna lay it down and match it up. It should match up perfectly at the bottom. And I'm just gonna pin it around. Or I'm actually, no, not gonna pin it. I just changed my mind. What I'm actually gonna do is fold this rectangular pocket in half and press the middle of it. So if you have a steam iron and you're not using a waxed fabric, then iron this. But I'm gonna use the roller. Roll the middle just to get a little reference point. And now I can match this up. And all I'm gonna do here is put a couple pins in. Couple pins. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is sew a seam right where I made that little crease. I'm gonna sew a seam right down the middle. So what that's gonna do is separate this pocket into two different pockets, and it's gonna connect the rectangle to the kangaroo pocket. Does that make sense? I'm getting a lot of hearts at the bottom, so I'm thinking that makes sense. Okay, what are we making? We're making something much like this. A little heavy-duty work apron with a lot of different pockets and places for tools. A little Father's Day gift. Oh my gosh. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Something bad always happens on these lives. Not today. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna top stitch right down the side, along the bottom, and up the other side. And then I'm gonna sew this little seam right down the middle right here. Super cute, thank you. Okay, here we go. We're doing some more top stitching. So So be sure to be on your A game because we're doing top stitching. Make sure it looks good. There's a lot of things going on right now. Okay, here we go. So I'm just gonna put this entire apron down. I'm gonna line the edge of that pocket up with the edge of this presser foot, and we're gonna do a top stitch. So I'm actually going to move my length up just a little bit to almost a 4. There we go. That I feel like makes the best looking top stitch. And I'm going to make sure to sew a back stitch here because we want this to be very reinforced because a lot of weight is going to be, you know, put on this pocket, so we want it to be reinforced. Once we get to the corner, again, drop the needle down, pivot the fabric, drop the presser foot. Starting and ending with a back stitch. Super reinforced. Okay. Cut those threads. And our pocket is attached. Now, Now we're gonna sew that little center seam going down this kangaroo pocket. Which needle do you use for heavy sewing? That's a great question. So right now I'm using a 90 over 14 needle, which is pretty common for like medium weight fabrics. But if you're sewing really, really heavy fabrics like thick denim or thick canvas, you might want to get 100 needle, or a denim needle. Those are a little bit thicker. So great for heavy duty sewing. Okay, now I'm just top stitching that center seam here. You damaged 3 needles. No! Well, the good thing is they're fairly cheap and super easy to replace. But, you know, it's a learning experience. I just broke one the other day. I was using my mom's sewing machine. There we go. There's our center seam. And I was sewing like 4 layers of denim with an old like 90 needle and it broke. And I was so sad. But, okay, so now... Now we're gonna attach that kangaroo pocket. We are almost done. It doesn't seem like it, but we're almost done. So this is what we have so far. And now I'm gonna measure down. Now I'm gonna measure down another 4, maybe 5 inches down to put this kangaroo pocket on. Do you know what needles you need for sparkly dot fabric? I don't know what that is. What is sparkly dot fabric? I don't know what that is, but okay. So now I'm laying down this bottom pocket and I'm going to measure down, get an accurate measurement. Flashy fabric. Like what kind is it? Is it like stretchy? Is it not? Is it sheer? What kind of fabric is it? Okay, let's measure down. I'm gonna do 5 inches down. For this one. Okay, so I'm just going to pin it along the top, making sure to fold that edge down by 1/2 inch. Just going to put a little pin there. And I'm also going to sew the side edges. So we're going to fold that over. Give it a little roll. Confetti fabric. I just don't know what that is. I'm so sorry. Maybe check back later. Someone might answer that in the comments, but I do not know what that is. I'm just a natural fiber girl, you know. I always sew with cotton, linen, natural fibers. I think they're the easiest to sew with and most environmentally friendly and all that. So that's what I'm typically sewing with. So I don't know what that is. Okay. So now I'm just folding down the sides of this pocket and pinning it down. And now the bottom. Sequin type fabric. Flat on the material. I don't know. But I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it's a little stretchy if I'm thinking mermaid type fabric. So you would probably need a ballpoint needle if it's at all stretchy. That's been my experience with mermaid type fabrics because I used to want to build a mermaid tail when I was young, and that was always stretchy. Never built that. Can anyone else answer that? Because I'm unsure. That's a great question. Okay, so I'm just rocking and rolling over here. I'm just rolling these seams and pinning them down, making sure they're all neat with a 1/2 inch fold on the inside of the apron. And we're about ready to top stitch that down. A 90 University or ballpoint. That sounds great. That's what I would suggest. Okay, here we go. We're headed back to the sewing machine. Once we're done with this, all we have to do is attach the straps. So, I'm going to go back through and top stitch this kangaroo pocket down. This might be a little tough to maneuver this waxed canvas. You kind of have to bunch it up a little bit. And I'm making sure to sew a reinforced stitch, aka back stitch, as I'm top stitching this down. Okay, once I sewed the top, I can end the seam there and cut the thread. All right, we got the top sewn on. Now we're gonna sew this side down the bottom and up the other side. Looking great. It can be rolled. Rolled? What do you mean rolled? It's fitting under the presser foot fine. It's just not, fitting in this gap as well. But it's just super bulky, and it's like stiff and hard to move around, It's just waxed canvas for you. Okay, so I'm gonna sew down, do a little back stitch. Once I get to the corner, I'm gonna slow down a little, drop the needle down with that spinny wheel, lift the presser foot, pivot the fabric, drop the presser foot back down, and keep sewing. Hold on. We're good, we're good. I think we got a little jam. Okay, we're good. Whew. don't know if you've noticed, but this heavy duty, it's a heavy duty 4432, very strong, and it actually has a little bit higher of a sewing speed than the other machines, and a really powerful motor. So it sews a little bit faster than the other machines typically would, so you kind of have to be aware of that. But it's really just like an industrial sewing machine. It's like a workhorse, you know, it's meant for extended periods of time of use and heavy duty fabrics and all of that. So it's a really, really great sewing machine. Let's get more of it in view. There we go. Now you can see it. Oh, are we back? Okay, it paused. We're back. Are we back? Okay, so I'm just back stitching about 3 seams. And there we go. And we're done. So we have, we're back. Thank you. We are done with the main part of the apron. How great is this contrast color? I just love this fabric combination. So this is what we have. Really the only thing we have left, which I'll just show you a little preview of what I'm gonna do, is take this canvas webbing. So we have this little neck strap, which is 24 inches with seam allowance included, 20 inches without seam allowance included. But again, you can find all these measurements, all of the instructions on the singer.com website on the inspiration and sewing projects tab. So this is our neck strap. Since it's canvas webbing, it's gonna fray a little bit on the end, so we're just gonna take our lighter and burn off the end. This is my favorite part of the whole project. I don't know why, but it's so fun. We're just gonna burn it a little bit. It turns to like a little wax, you know? It's kind of hot. You can kind of smooth it out a little bit. And this is gonna prevent it from fraying and finish the edge really, really nicely. So we're just burning the edge. Let's not burn the house down. Ow, ow, that was hot. Okay. And I'll also do the same thing for my waist straps. You know what? We're kind of running out of time, so I might just skip to the little loopy things that go on the front of the apron. As you can see on our model, it has these little loops here that you can hang tools off of that are super, super convenient. So all I did was cut a little 4-inch strip of canvas webbing. We're just gonna burn the edges. Which machine do you have, Vicky? Oh my gosh, I almost just lit my hair on fire. Why did I just touch my hair to that? Okay. Yeah, the heavy duty really performs well with these heavy duty fabrics. I was super impressed. I was sewing like 4 layers of canvas yesterday. It was just zooming right through. Okay, so that's done. So I'm just gonna attach this neck strap to save time and maybe put on one of these loops, and then we will be done for the day. And if you want to figure out how to finish this apron, just find the project online or on my YouTube. Okay, so for this neck strap, all I'm going to do is on the wrong side, I'm going to place this strap down with a little bit of room. I think I like to leave about 2 inches of room. Make sure that the strap is not visible, like on the side. Make sure it's not coming out of the side and that it's flush against the edge of the fabric. I'm gonna pin it down And I'm gonna sew this with a box X, I'm gonna sew this with a box X stitch, which is really, really good for sewing on straps. It's a really, really secure stitch. Basically, it's just like how it sounds. It's a box. So we're gonna go burp, 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 finish the box, and then we're gonna make an X, go sideways, and finish the X. If you don't understand, just Google it or YouTube it, box X stitch. It's super easy. So I'm just gonna, put this under the machine. We're gonna sew down. Here we go. Okay, we're just gonna sew. Hello from Italy. Hi. That's so exciting. Okay, so we're just gonna do a little box. So we're gonna go down, back stitch, keep going forward. I'm gonna pivot the fabric. This is when it gets a little cramped. Okay, I'm gonna pivot the fabric. Wow, this is so cramped right now. There we go. Drop the presser foot. Okay, I'm just sewing a little X here. I'm struggling a little bit. This fabric is so bulky. And it's like right up against my wall. Okay, and we're finishing the box. And I'll pivot one more time and do the X. I'll pivot, come up the side again. Wow, we're really doing this. Okay, and our last pivot, we're finishing the box, the X. No, oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay. There we go. Oh man, my foot came off. There we go. Okay, wow. We did it. We did it. Let me cut that thread. I'm not the most proud of this because I did it on a live and I'm kind of nervous, but there's the box with the X, and that's what it looks like. So the last thing we'll do, I have 5 minutes left. I'm gonna put this little loopy thing on the front. So basically to finish the strap, you're just gonna do the same thing to the other side, and then for the the waist ties, I cut these at 12 inches, and I got this little elastic buckle to put on there so it'll buckle in the back. So you just feed that through. Put one buckle on each side. And, oh, I see what you're saying, Kathleen. I can't say your name. Kathy? Kathy. That is what you're saying. I get it. Yeah, I'm having a struggle over here. This is the first time I've ever sewed with waxed canvas, and it is, it's beautiful, but it's a little bit more tough to sew with. Kathy. It's not leather. It is waxed canvas, but it's pretty like thick and stiff, so it's kind of hard to bunch up under the sewing machine, but we did it. We did it. Okay, the very last thing I'm going to do on this live, I'm going to put on this little strap, this little loop thing. I'm going to measure about maybe 2 inches beside that kangaroo pocket. And we're just going to sew it down with just a straight stitch, but we're going to go back and forth multiple times just so it's extra secure. So I'm going to pin it down. So I got it pinned down here. I'm gonna pin down one side and kind of like bunch it a little bit, and then so where it makes a loop, and then sew the other side down. Super, super simple. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Okay, we're bunching it up again. I should have done this on the other side. Here we go. So, again, I measured up that little loop with the edge of the presser foot. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm having so much fun making these and experimenting with different fabrics and all of that. So I'm just gonna sew a straight stitch, but I'm gonna go back and forth multiple times so it's kind of thick. You know what? Wow. Okay. Let's pause for a minute because my needle came unthreaded. I didn't leave enough slack. Well, this is a good time. Where are you? This is a good time to show you how easy it is. Using a 90/14, which is pretty thick, and this is like, yeah, it's like stiff, but it's not the thickest fabric I've ever sewn with, so it's actually working out pretty well. Okay, I'm just gonna thread this real fast. It has an automatic needle threader at the bottom. Someone asked how long I've been sewing. I have been sewing for 5 years. I'm not sure if Grandma is still watching, but she taught me much of what I know. And I've been, yeah, I started with a Singer Simple. I learned on a Singer Simple and it was amazing. And then I got a Quantum Stylist, and now I have this heavy duty and I love it. Okay, now we got it threaded. We're just gonna sew this on. Here we go. Sewing back and forth with my little reverse level. Grandma, you're still watching. It is standard machine thread. It's a polyester, all purpose. Okay. I got that on there. Now I'll cut the thread. Okay, now that we got one side on, we're just gonna bunch it up a little bit and sew it down. But yeah, what else? Did someone ask a question? What are you making? Toots and stitches. Oh, what is that strip for? First of all, I'm making an apron, a heavy duty apron. It looks like this. Second of all, this loop is, it's like a, yeah, strip, good word for it. This is just a little strip to hang like tools off of. So I saw someone hang a hammer off of it, or a tape measure, or like, if you're, you know, I used to work at a coffee shop and all the baristas would wear ones like this and they'd hang a little towel on it. It's just a good little hanger. You can hang pens off of it or whatever. Just a nice little loop, but it also just looks cool. So, okay, now I'm just gonna sew this other side on. We're almost done. Good enough. That's a great loop for a hammer. It was. It really was. It worked out so well. I just looked on Google at different work aprons, and I looked at all the different options you can do with them, and you know, the different ways you can customize them, and I kind of just picked what would work best for me or whoever I'm making it for, and it was so fun. So, everyone, because we're running out of time, we've got like 75% of this apron done. Just pretend like this strap is sewn on all the way. We have this little loop. We have our kangaroo pocket. We have this pocket. If you want to go an extra step, which I've done on an apron before this, I sewed a seam like 4 inches in right here so that I could put my phone in this pocket, and then I sewed a little seam right here so that I could put like a little pencil in this pocket, and it just kind of separated this into 3 different compartments, and really, really cool. So that's what we have. I feel bad that we didn't have enough time. I always run over on these lives, but if you want to see how to finish this project completely, go to singer.com on the inspiration tab, click on sewing projects, and this project should be on there. Also, go to my YouTube channel tomorrow, and I'm going to post a full tutorial on how I drafted the pattern using really basic measurements, how I cut the pattern out, and then how I sewed it, if you missed anything. But I'm super happy with the way this is turning out, and it's going to be a really cool gift for someone. So thank you so much for watching. Join us again next month. On the second Tuesday of every month, we're going to be doing Instagram Lives and doing little sewing tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/Jessica Shaw. Also on Instagram, Jessica Shaw, but Jessica has 3 S's. No, I was gonna pin a comment, but it's too late for that. Okay, well, thank you for your help. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Okay, Jessica Shaw. There we go. There's my Instagram. Well, thank you so much for watching. youtube.com/Jessica Shaw. Have a great day. Enjoy your apron making. I'm really proud of this one. This is a nice finished apron for you to see with some nice waist straps. Anyway, enjoy your apron making, your Father's Day gift making, and we will see you next month. Bye!